What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the Catch fam? My name is Jon Dawson, and in today's video, we are hopping into my top 20 overall players for week 1 of the 2022 fantasy football season. If you guys do enjoy today's content, be sure to hit that like button on the way and hit that subscribe button. Of course, if you are new to the channel, let me know any comments, questions, concerns pertaining to the 2022 fantasy football season down below. Without further ado, let's hop into today's video. And before we do so, I do want to mention that I am filming this before Thursday night kickoff, but this is going to come out Friday morning after the Thursday night kickoff game. So some of these players have already played. We'll see if I make the right selections or not. Overall, most of these players are due for their games on Sunday, and we got the Broncos and Seahawks maybe mixed in here a little bit as well. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. All right, number 1 overall, I've got Jonathan Taylor. I think he's just going to have himself a day against that Houston Texans defense. I really think he's just going to come out and remind everyone why he was RB1 in fantasy football last year. So I absolutely love this game script for Jonathan Taylor. I think he's just going to shred up that defense from head to toe. So I think he is due for a beautiful fantasy stat line, and really, overall, I think he could have the best running back performance here in week 1. Even if he's not heavily involved in the passing game, I could see a tremendous day on the ground as a whole. Speaking of a running back who is involved in the passing game, Austin Eckler at the Raiders is just a beautiful matchup, a beautiful game script. I really think this is definitely one of my favorite games. We're going to see several Chargers and Raiders players throughout today's video, and I think Eckler's going to get it done on the ground and through the air. He has been one of my favorite running backs all off season long, and I just love this offense as a whole. So going with the RB1 on the Chargers offense, facing off against the Raiders, and what I think is going to be a great divisional shootout as our 2nd overall player. 3rd overall, I've got Justin Jefferson. Man, dude, I just have a good feeling about JJ going up against the Packers in a great divisional matchup. I think he's just going to see a ton of targets. I think that chemistry with Cousins is taking another step forward. I think Justin Jefferson as a receiver is going to take another step forward this season. So I absolutely love JJ going into Sunday afternoon. I've got Derrick Henry at number 4 going up against the Giants. I think he's just going to remind everyone why he was a top running back in fantasy football before getting injured last year, and why he was a top 3 selection going into last season in fantasy football. I really think that fantasy managers got a steal in Derrick Henry in the first rounds this year. I'm really surprised that he did not move up on a lot of draft boards. He really stayed right in the middle of the first round for the most part. And overall, it's just a good matchup. I think that the Titans will hold control of this game for the most part. I am not worried about the Giants defense whatsoever. Number 5 overall, I've got CMC, even though he did pop up on the injury report with a shin injury, but I don't believe it is going to be too serious. So he gets Cleveland. It's not a crazy matchup, but at the end of the day, man, I mean, there's no way CMC, if he is healthy and active, he's not in your top 5 on a week-to-week basis. So I love CMC going into this game. I think if you drafted CMC, obviously you probably consider him a top player, and you could definitely argue that he should be higher overall. But overall, for me, I've got him 5th heading into week 1. All right, number 6, I've got Cooper Kupp at the Buffalo Bills, and I do believe in this Bills defense, don't get me wrong, but I do think that Kupp is just going to be one of the most consistent fantasy receivers week in and week out here in the 2022 season. So I think a good score for Cooper Kupp in this game and enough catches and targets throughout the game to give him a very safe ceiling. I think on a weekly basis, that's where you're going to see, even if Kupp isn't scoring on a weekly basis, the targets are going to be there. That chemistry with Stafford is going nowhere. So I'll absolutely put Kupp in the top 10 moving into week 1. Number 7, I've got Jamar Chase. Once again, Chase going up against Pittsburgh. Listen, I think Pittsburgh's front 7 is going to be able to apply a lot of pressure this season, but that chemistry with Burrow and Chase is not going anywhere. And I really think, similar to Kupp, that the targets are just going to be there week in and week out for Chase, and a consistent ceiling is going to be there for Chase. I won't be surprised if we see a score from Chase and enough targets and catches throughout this game to give him a really nice stat line. Number 8 overall, I've got Devonta Adams going up against the Chargers. I absolutely love this matchup for all players involved, but I really think that Adams is going to remind a lot of fantasy managers why he was so sought after when he was with the Packers. I know it's a very different situation with Derek Carr at quarterback, but I really think that Carr and Adams are going to establish a nice chemistry, and especially a nice chemistry in the red zone. So I love Adams this week. Number 9, I've got Kamara versus the Falcons. Man, I think Kamara is just going to shred this defense up. Outside of AJ Terrell, I am really not worried about any component of the Falcons defense. So I love Kamara. I think he is going to be an absolute steal going into the season until he gets suspended. And this is one of those matchups that you drafted Kamara for. He is going to light it up on Sunday. Number 10, we've got our first quarterback on the list. I'm going with Justin Herbert versus the Raiders. I absolutely, like I've said numerous times throughout this video, I love this matchup for Justin Herbert. I think he's going to have a phenomenal game. Overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing Herbert play in his third season. I really think that this game is going to be a fun divisional shootout. So I'll put Herbert as our first quarterback at 10 overall on today's list. All right, number 11 overall going into week 1 of the 2022 fantasy football season. I got Josh Allen, our second quarterback, on the list. It was really hard for me to decide, do I want Herbert at number 1 or Allen? I'm trusting my gut going Herbert, but overall I love Allen in this matchup against the Rams. I do think that the Rams defense has enough solid pieces to perform well throughout the season, but overall I mean, come on, it's Josh Allen. He was drafted number 1 in your fantasy leagues for a reason. Allen, I just think, is going to light it up all season long, be in the run for the MVP race without a doubt. So there's no way I was going to put Herbert at 10 and not put Allen right next to him. Allen is going to have a monster night, no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Moving on to number 12, I've got DeAndre Swift versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I really like this game script for DeAndre Swift, and I'm just a huge fan of Swift going into the season. I love that Lions offensive line. I do think that the Lions are going to be much improved overall. And listen, I do think that Philly's defense is quite good, but I just have one of those feelings, man. And sometimes when you have those gut feelings in fantasy, you should always follow them, right? So I'll put Swift at number 12. Number 13, I've got Jalen Hurts in that same matchup going up against the Detroit Lions defense, which once again, I do think that the Lions defense is going to be much improved, but I really think Hurts is going to be all over the place in this game on the ground and through the air. I think it's a really good game script for Jalen Hurts, so he comes in as the third quarterback on the list. Number 14 overall, I've got Stephon Diggs versus the Rams. Listen, I know that Ramsey's going to be on him most of the night, but the targets, once again, I mean, it's similar to Chase, similar to Kupp. The chemistry with Josh Allen, it's not going anywhere. This is Allen's first read. This is going to be one of the best offenses in the league throughout the season. So similar to Kupp, I really believe that Diggs has a high chance of scoring a touchdown and getting enough touches for a really nice ceiling going into this game and into the week. And overall, man, I really think we're going to see that throughout the year, especially if Gabe Davis can come on and do what most fantasy managers think he's going to do. It's going to help take away some of that defensive pressure from Diggs. So I feel very good about Diggs going into the night. With all that said, I feel very good about Gabe Davis as well. All right, moving on to number 15, I've got Deebo Samuel versus the Bears. I just love this matchup. Listen, I was really surprised, ever since Deebo got his contract finalized and all that smoothed out, I was really surprised that Deebo didn't kind of shoot up on draft boards, and I kind of understand that there's going to be regression from what he did last year no matter what, but at the end of the day, I love this matchup going up against the Bears. I really do for a lot of these Niners players, but overall, I think Deebo's just going to have a big day, so I feel really good about him coming in as our 15th ranked player overall going into week 1. 16 overall, I've got Travis Kelsey going up against the Cardinals. At some point, we had to throw a tight end in here, right? And I really just like this game script for Kelsey. At number 17, I've got Mahomes at Arizona, so kind of tied here, right? I just think this is a great matchup. It's going to be a shootout, going to be a really fun game. This is one of the games that I'm really looking forward to on Sunday. So I think Kelsey will be Mahomes' number 1 target without a doubt. So I see a lot of valuable targets for Kelsey throughout this whole game, a game in which I believe Arizona should be able to keep up with things. So that lands Kyler Murray at 18 overall. Is really hard not to include, just quarterbacks on this last slide, because I really think a lot of quarterbacks are going to have great week ones overall. So like I said, Mahomes and Kyler Murray in the same game. I think both these offenses are going to look really good. That lands Mahomes at 17, Murray at 18. I just think it's going to be an overall shootout. And I think both of these offenses are going to be able to keep up with one another. So I like both of them in the top 20 without a doubt. Moving on to a different quarterback at number 19. I've got Lamar Jackson at the Jets. How could you leave him out? Even if that Jets defense did improve in the offseason, had a great draft and everything. I mean, come on, man. Lamar Jackson versus the Jets just sounds like one of those fantasy matchups that you want to exploit, undoubtedly. I mean, come on. I do think that Jackson coming off injury is going to be in the run for comeback player of the year. As much as I was afraid to draft Jackson personally because I owned him last year, let's face it, Lamar is going to ball all season long, and I love him in week one. Number 20 overall, I'm kind of cheating. I've got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. This is kind of how I felt about Diggs and Gabriel Davis, but at the end of the day, man, I'm cheating here. Number 20, putting Allen and Mike Williams. What I would say is Allen is probably that consistent player with maybe a little bit of a safer ceiling, where Mike Williams is kind of where you're rolling the dice and hoping for a little bit more upside overall. But I think in this specific matchup, there's going to be a really good opportunity for both of these receivers to have a really good afternoon. Like I said, this is one of my favorite matchups, if not my favorite matchup going into the weekend. I absolutely love Keenan Allen and Mike Williams going up against that Raiders secondary, and what I think is just going to be a fun divisional high-scoring shootout. All right, very quickly, we'll look at some honorable mentions. I would just say, if any of these players on this slide are on your fantasy roster, you should still feel very, very good, even if they did not make my personal top 20. We've got Najee Harris at Cincinnati, Dalvin Cook at Green Bay, Barkley at Tennessee is just a really nice ceiling, man. Joe Burrow at Pittsburgh, one of the quarterbacks who did not make the top 20, who I think is going to have a great game. Tyreek Hill at New England. Let's not discount Tyreek Hill. I think he's going to have a very good day. A.J. Brown at Detroit is another receiver, kind of similar to Hill, bringing that nice high receiver one ceiling, who I think is going to have a really good day overall. Mark Andrews against the Jets is not someone to sleep on. We got Aaron Jones at Minnesota. I think he's going to have a great day. James Conner at Kansas City involved in the shootout. Gabe Davis at the Rams, like we already kind of talked about, involved in a shootout. Man, I love both of those players here in week one. Trey Lance at Chicago. I really think Trey Lance is going to have an opportunity against the Chicago defense to live up to the hype he has built up in the offseason. I absolutely love Trey Lance. If you drafted him, roll the dice with Trey Lance all day long here in week one. And listen, I love all Broncos players this weekend. Well, really on Monday night, so not this weekend. I just think, Russell Wilson going up against his former team. His former team, the Seahawks, may be the worst team in the league this year. That defense just does not look good whatsoever on paper. I think Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson, Albert O, Javonte Williams, even Melvin Gordon, and who knows who else will step up. I think there is going to be a lot of targets thrown around, a lot of fantasy points to be shared around, and a lot of touchdowns scored by the Broncos on Monday night. And I do really like the Bucs and the Cowboys matchups. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, CeeDee Lamb, even Dalton Schultz, Brady, Prescott, Zeke, Fournette. None of those guys made the top 20, but I think that is a game to pay very close attention to. There's going to be a lot of valuable fantasy players within that game. And that'll do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below which players in my top 20 that you have in your starting lineup moving into week one. And on the way out, be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We put out free daily fantasy football content, and we are here to help you dominate your 2022 fantasy football season. Hit that like button on the way out and check out all the links down below in the description. And with that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you guys saw it here on The Catch.